to stop worrying and love ledgers. How many of you guys are familiar with with the word blockchain? How many of you have heard that? How many of you heard the word Bitcoin? A lot more people. A Bitcoin is a technology that came from the blockchain. It's a part of the blockchain economy. Now, there's another technology as well. It's called Froggle. How many of you have heard of Froggle? That's good because I just made it up right. But the most important part about this technology, about blockchain, is that it involves the most exciting thing you guys will hear all day today: ledgers.
Woo!
Yeah, accounting people at my back. But accounting is a really important part of our institution, of our finances. It's how we have trust in our numbers. If you think about it, a ledger is a way to keep track of who owns what, how it's used, and also what is coming in, what's coming out. So the first thing that started is we had a ledger, just one document that referenced a bunch of different accounts for different people. And this was adequate for what it was at the time. Next came the dual ledger entries. You have your credits, you have your debits, they're supposed to offset, you're keeping track of it in two different sources, and they make sure that they comply with each other. And that's good too. But blockchain brings a third ledger into the mix. And today I'm going to show you guys kind of why that's needed and how that's important to us. So how many of you have tried to send anything internationally, like payments across the seas? So where did you try to send the payment to? To Spain. So for an example of that, I brought yarn. Obviously, this is what it is. It's a transaction. So our transaction starts in the United States. And you have a bank that you do that transaction with. And that bank has an international or national brand bank. So you go from your local bank to your national bank. So maybe your national bank is here. And now this transaction took a little bit of time, but now it's there. But that bank now has to send it to their Spanish, maybe European-based bank, and that bank is over here. So that took a couple days too. And the first bank has to balance its ledger to the second bank, has to balance its ledger to this third bank now. And this bank has now maybe a Spanish section. So now we have the US going into the European, into the Spain, and finally it gets sent to the intended recipient. So we have all these different transactions that take all this different amount of time. No, I'm just and you know, this transaction goes from something that is just giving something to someone else to a transaction that now takes 10, 15 days, because every ledger has to balance to every ledger. So the blockchain is a little different than that. Instead of each individual bank, each individual region having its own ledger that needs to balance to other ledgers, there is just one ledger with the blockchain. And that simplifies things a little bit. So I'm going to take this back really quick. You guys can let it throw it out. And basically, what a blockchain is, I should just take this, but for a blockchain, I'm going to be the ledger in this example. And there's only one ledger. I'll just start from here, actually. So everyone can see this ledger. Everyone knows what's part of this ledger. So everyone has that ledger. And then you do that, I guess, and hold on to it. Hold on to the screen. So everyone has the ledger. and different people can see everything with that ledger. So you just have to make changes to the one ledger for other people to see the changes that go with that ledger. So since everyone can see it, there's trust in it now that the numbers are being correct. Because if the numbers were not correct, someone would have altered the ledger incorrectly. So since everyone can see my ledger, because I'm stretching this kind of thin, but the example is that everyone can see what's on my ledger, and therefore, oops. Here, pass it. Maybe yarn wasn't the best example, but everyone can see. Oh. Everyone can see what's part of this ledger, and in that way, if a transaction needs to go from Jennifer all the way to Rachel, I myself, the ledger, makes that change, not 5 different banks in the middle. So that's the advantage of the blockchain, is that you're only keeping track of one ledger instead of 5 or more. So you guys can let this go. But that's the example I was trying to give, and you guys can ask me any questions later on about blockchain. That's the basic premise. Thank you very much. That's my time.